Welcome to another episode of Academic Innovation Insights from Embry-Riddle's Division of Academic Innovation. In this episode, I'm joined by Dr. Justin Shaffer, and we'll discuss teaching and learning in higher education and how we can continue to move forward together. Specifically, we'll explore strategies to help prepare faculty for success in the classroom, the value of engaging in SoTL and DBER activities, and we'll issue a call to action, encouraging viewers to connect with colleagues outside of their department and institution to foster innovation. Hi, I'm Dr. Angie Atwell, Executive Director of the Rothwell Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And today, I'm happy to welcome Dr. Justin Shaffer, Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies and teaching professor at Colorado School of Mines and founder of Recombinant Education. Thanks for joining our web series, Justin.
Hey, Angie, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you.
Absolutely. So I am in my role the executive director of our Center for Teaching and Learning, and I work as part of our Division of Academic Innovation. And really, and part of those functions are to support faculty at all stages of their journey with us. So we definitely have onboarding, we definitely have ongoing professional education experiences, and we have a lot of opportunities for faculty members to innovate in their own classrooms. And so I'm curious a little bit about what you do in your role.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not in a teaching center. I kind of wish I would be at some point, but I hear at Mines we don't have the opportunity as faculty to kind of coexist in that role. But we fortunately we have amazing people. Shout out to Megan Sanders. You're wonderful, Megan. She runs our center. She does so much great work for leading our center for our 350 faculty here at Mines. But in my role, yeah, I'm largely an academic faculty member. So I've been a teaching professor going on about year 13, 14, somewhere around there right now, depending on how you count. And here at Mines, that's my primary duty, teaching professor. So I teach in chemical engineering as well as in our quantitative biosciences program, which is just our nerdy mind's way of saying biology. And then, but I do have some of my time spent in an administrative role. So I'm like half us, half them, half of my time is an associate dean of undergraduate studies, and I get to help my dean Vibhuti work on curriculum, instruction, and assessment across our campus. And we're kind of like you, we're a very specialized STEM school. So we're doing mostly things in the STEM space. I like to joke, our least technical degree is applied math and statistics. It's on a debate between that or chemistry, But, students come here for a reason to do STEM. And I love that environment that we have here. Everyone's kind of locked in that lane, and I get to support them in the classroom, but again, also through broader things. But then through my business that you mentioned, Recombinant Education, that's where I get to do my faculty development work. So I do workshops, I do consulting, I do one-on-ones, whatever people want to do at the department level, whole institution level to help transform and improve higher education and specifically STEM education together is what I like to focus on.
Yeah, awesome. You had mentioned a little bit of us and a little bit of them. So my dissertation research is on third space, that space in between academics and administration.
Mhm.
And certainly centers, fall in that. Centers for innovation, centers for teaching and learning, centers, we've got some focuses on artificial intelligence. These centers of excellence really do fall in between
Yeah.
that space. And so it certainly can inform our work, and there definitely are some challenges as well. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of some of the challenges or experiences that you've had maybe with that third space, living in kind of both worlds?
Yeah, it's kind of fun in a way, to kind of see on both sides. Because not speaking here specifically, but other institutions I've been at, I've seen faculty become administrators full time, whether it's dean or provost levels, and then they kind of forget what it's like to be a faculty member, which is really sad, honestly, because it's what our focus is. Now, maybe if you're at a major R1 research university, like one of my prior institutions was, that, okay, that's understandable. You have different things to worry about, but at a smaller school, where we focus on undergraduate education so keenly, we really want to make sure we're keep that faculty lens in mind. And that's why I like my role. It's kind of split. So I get to still teach. I'm in the trenches every day. Right after this is over, I'm going to go teach anatomy and physiology. Skeletal system anatomy is our topic today, right? But then I get to work on broader issues about working on, summer courses, summer course design and support, trying to get clicker systems for the whole campus to save our students money and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to do both. But you're right, there is that truly third space. I like that term, especially for people that are in teaching and learning centers, I think, because they're not, at least in our case here at Minds, they're not technically academic faculty, so they're not teaching, quote unquote, normal classes in the discipline. Although we do have one person, Laura Carroll, who's a materials engineer. She teaches one of our MME classes, so Laura's amazing for that. But you're also trying to help guide people in the STEM fields for us explicitly to become better educators, but those folks may or may not have a STEM background. So it's a unique space to be in. The good thing is I think most places, our centers and our faculty and staff within them are really well valued and respected. Although, as I'm saying this, as we're recording, putting a little timestamp on when we did this, recently we heard the news UT Austin having their teaching learning center shut down, which is an absolute travesty. So, things like that happen, and it kind of gets us all a little bit worried. What's this third space being like? How's it being supported? What can we do to support those people? Because they're really, really needed.
Absolutely. You said, sometimes when there's that shift that faculty are moving to staff roles or staff are moving to faculty roles, it's easy to kind of get involved in what's happening in your current job and forget
Yeah.
what the actual experience is in those other jobs. And so it's so important for these roles, regardless of if they're faculty roles and strictly in academics, or if they're staff roles strictly in administration, or somewhere in between. It's important for us to connect with others and to build ambassadors. You were just talking about there's always opportunity for funding to be cut. There's opportunities for priorities to change. But if we can build that community, we've got ambassadors that are really focused on a quality educational experience. They're focused on the quality of the reputation of the institution and making sure that the students who graduate are in fact, living up to that reputation and that experience. And so creating those connections and those ambassadors is just such an important part of what people like you are doing in your split several kind of different roles,
Yeah.
what people like me, my team, and the Division of Academic Innovation are doing every day. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we are actually doing. It's important for us to kind of consider, as we're planning some of our activities, to consider the nuances around higher education and what kind of capacity faculty members have when they're coming into different institutions. At our institution, we're a worldwide campus, so we're
Mhm.
mostly talking about teaching and bringing the educational experience online. And so making sure that faculty members have the skills and the abilities that allow them to, share their great knowledge of their content area, but also do it in a way that makes sense online.
Yep.
And so, some of the research, and actually, my team is mostly K-12 educators
Yeah.
that transitioned to an online and higher education experience. And so K-12 really does a very different job, preparing educators. There's certifications, there's sometimes years of experience, whereas higher education, there's definitely a more focus or a higher priority on research and expertise in the field. And so, of course, we know that being an expert in a field does not always mean that you're going to be an expert in
Yeah.
teaching. And so at Embry-Riddle, we address that in several ways. Here at the Worldwide Campus, we do have a certification for our new faculty members. All new faculty members, regardless of their previous experience, they have to go through something that we call I Teach ER. We love putting ER at the end of everything at Embry-Riddle, sometimes in the front. And
Yeah, makes sense. Yep.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
I teach ER is an opportunity for us to just orient faculty members to what it means to teach at Embry-Riddle. Again, a lot of this is good teaching is good teaching, and it may not be new for faculty members, but sometimes it is. Sometimes faculty are coming directly from industry, they're coming directly from research fields. They may not have taught at all, or they may not have taught online. And so I Teach ER gives us that opportunity to get them the information that they need in order to be successful in their very first term teaching. And we also follow them throughout their first term teaching. So we integrate a bit of a coaching and a consultation model, because we can share a lot of information, but at some point it becomes information overload and it doesn't matter until it matters. And so we make sure that an instructional consultant is assigned to each faculty member so that they can really focus on their practice and make their classroom really their own. We also have a recertification process. So we have a touch point with each one of our faculty members annually. At the Worldwide Campus, we have about 1,000 faculty members, most of which are adjuncts. Many of them could be teaching for other institutions or, again, working actively in their field and only teaching for us. And they're teaching online. So that annual touch point is really, really critical for us. And what we try to do, because it's required, we all have to do the annual tech and web safety kind of trainings. So what we try to do is create a little bit of excitement around Refresh ER. We have a different theme every year. This year our theme was outer space. We also try to highlight faculty in the wonderful things that they're doing in their classrooms and certainly in their fields, and we keep it short. We plan it every year to be less than a year. So while in many cases, there's no real certification to be able to teach online, we have kind of adjusted that expectation a little bit here at Embry-Riddle. So what are some of the ways that you are supporting educators, Justin?
Yeah, first, wow, you guys are doing a lot. That's amazing. And I was going to ask you if that recertification program had an ER in it, but you said it did.
It
Refresh
sure
ER.
does.
So you got that ER brand going. I love it. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the pairing of the instructional consultant or with the developer with the faculty members that develop their course. That's amazing. Yeah, we do a good job of that here at Minds with our online. We have a Minds online division. We're focusing on undergrad, grad, but also professional education online, and we have a great OLED team. We call them online learning educational developers that are paired there. But unfortunately, we don't have enough residential faculty developers. And that's common. Like if you read the Mary Wright's book about teaching centers, she did that nice scoping review of teaching centers and the kind of status quo of them in America a couple of years ago. There's some data in there showing kind of the ratio of faculty to faculty developers on campuses, and it's pretty high numbers. So some schools are like 80 to 1 faculty to faculty developer, some are like 200, 300 to 1. We're somewhere in the middle, but we could use some more support. So just broad shout out there to anyone listening. Support your teaching centers and get more residential faculty developers too. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, again, we got some overlap on my campus, like I mentioned, and then some things I personally like to do, right? First of all, I always want to acknowledge you're already doing great stuff, right? It's really hard when you're working with faculty to say, "Oh, yeah, this is right." You can't do that, or you got to lead, work with things. So one of the common challenges I find with faculty is getting engagement in the classroom. So how do you kind of promote active learning and all that use, just as a specific use case here? So I always like to say, and I even did a workshop earlier this morning for a school online, and use the same example. So I'm going off to teach anatomy and physiology that afternoon, right? I got 50 minutes. I got 65 students. If all I do is lecture for 50 minutes straight, will my students learn? Yeah, they will be learning. But you're shaking your head, no. But so this is the thing, right? You got to lead in with that first. So are they going to be learning if all you do is lecture? Yes, they will. But there's a big but here. Can you be doing other things to help them learn more? Yes. And now let's explore that together, right? So you kind of have to set that baseline that yes, you are doing work. You're a faculty member, you're an educator, you care. You're here, like, no one's making you do this. This is your career choice. And I guess for us in STEM especially, we could be doing lots of things with those STEM degrees that we got, but we're here in the classroom for some reason. So you're there, your care. You might not have the training though, like you said, right? You might not be because I ask my students, hey, do you have to have like a certification or a certificate to teach college science classes? And they like kind of look at me puzzled, like, what do you mean? Like, I never even thought about that. And I tell them, no, of course not. And they said, what? Right, but you got to be certified to teach kindergarten. And but that's a harder job. I think we all agree. I would be the worst kindergarten teacher ever. I've raised two kids, not for me. Thank you, Mr. Watt, and all the other kindergarten teachers my kids used to have. So we're not trained as faculty, right? So where do we fill that hole? How do we help them out? So I gave you that one example with active learning. You're doing great work at Embry with that. We're doing great work at Mines. I'm trying to do work myself, right? So through what I do is I work with institutions through workshops again, through one-on-ones, whatever. But I try to design tools too, right? Because I only, there's only one of me. So I wrote the book, High Structure Course Design, and that's able to give really practical tips. It's not just reading it. There's a lot of dumb jokes, which is good, but there's also a lot of templates. And that's what I find faculty really need too. It's, kind of tell me how to do it, but also give me some tools to do it, right? It's not just blank piece of paper. That's scary when it comes to course design. But here's a syllabus template, here's a lesson template, here's a reading guide template. These are things I make to help students read the book. So tools like that really help. And then I'm trying to design some more things to be used with centers and their staff and faculty or faculty on their own. So I developed some card decks and I'm just going to hold them up to the camera if you can see them. So this one's called Alignment. This is for faculty and instructors, high school teachers too, to learn how to do course design in a fun, engaging way. So you kind of go through backward design. What are your learning objectives? What are your assessments? What are your activities? But then you also explore different course design scenarios. You're talking a lot about online teaching. I've done online teaching. I've done synchronous, asynchronous. I've done large lectures, small classes, seniors, freshmen, right? There's so many different course design situations. How do you tailor a course design for those situations? And then also, how do you overcome barriers to course design, right? Do you have too much content to cover? It's a big one. Do you not have enough time? Yes, that's true for everybody, for everything, right? Do you not have logistics? Maybe your institutional norms are not to support active evidence-based practices, right? So kind of, excuse me, helps you explore those. And then on the student side too, I made practice a student success card deck because what I'm finding more and more from our faculty and myself included is that our students coming into college may not have the best study skills or success skills. And we cannot rely on first year seminars, college transition classes, counseling, student life to fill that gap. We need to do it in the discipline, right? We need to do it in our actual gateway courses. So for me, teaching intro bio or some of my intro chemical engineering courses, right? We can use something like this practice card deck to help students explore how to study, how to thrive from your academic disciplinary, quote unquote experts, because again, we can help cultivate those study skills, which will help them not only do well in our class, but also beyond. So those are some of the things I'm working on. And I just love it so much. Hopefully you can tell I'm maybe bleeding with enthusiasm. Here's not the best words, but that's how I feel doing this kind of stuff. I just love working with the faculty. And, a couple of years ago, it might happen to some of you listening, I'm not sure, but I had a birthday that ends in zero. And when you have one of those, you kind of start reflecting, right? You look backwards, you look forwards, you think, how much time do I have left? What am I going to do with my life? So I really kind of made a strong pivot to try to share the impacts that I know can happen from evidence-based teaching practices more widely. So my motto is improving STEM education together. And I'm going to keep on trying to do that however I can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You had talked about the impact. And certainly when we are in the classroom, we are impacting our students because we are taking risks and we are trying new things and we are trying to get our students to learn in ways that they can use when they walk out of our classroom door. But it's important for others who might not have that knowledge, that experience, or even that drive to think about how they can best improve. And that's why we need people like us. We need those people who are out there championing, like you talked about active learning or best course design methods
Mhm.
or integrating current events and how we can kind of
Yep.
connect what we are learning in a classroom to what is actually happening out in the real world. You had mentioned a little bit about design, course design, and really a good instructor has those instincts, and a good instructor can overcome poor course design. But poor course design could tank a course. And so
Yeah.
it is
Yep.
important for faculty members to have that ownership and take
Yep.
that ownership and remember that they might not have written the learning outcomes or
Mhm.
or maybe they had to work together with their department on the syllabus, and maybe there's a project that they don't, agree with 100%. But at the end of the day, it's what they personalize. And
Mhm.
again, we like to say ERAU a lot. And so we like to say it's important for you to put the U in
Yeah.
ERAU.
Yeah. I
Like
like that.
the instructors make all of the
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
whether they're, tenured professors or they're adjunct instructors teaching one class a year, that impact that faculty member has is really, really great because it's all about learning. And learning takes us into our lives, into our jobs, into our personal experiences, and we just get better and better every time we learn how to learn better. You had
Yeah.
mentioned
Well
also,
said.
yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit more about student success,
Yep.
and you were talking about the importance of gateway courses.
Hmm.
We had a dean, an academic dean, who started a few years ago, and he said to me, "If you could ask me to do one thing, what would you ask me to do?" And I said, "Make our gateway courses the very best course that we have."
Yep. Yep.
It's low hanging fruit. It's
Hmm.
absolutely the thing that we need to focus on the most.
Yep.
Because you mentioned the students that are coming into our courses, specifically residential campuses that have the traditional age group. Here at Worldwide, we
Mhm.
we do have traditional age students, but we also have non-traditional age students. But the traditional age students, they're COVID kids. They're kids that might
Yep.
have
Yep.
some gaps in their academics, in their social experiences, certainly with their study skills. And so integrating those elements into the content courses is necessary because
Mhm.
they just don't have it yet. And I always say we want students to be challenged by the content, not frustrated by the
Yep.
logistics.
Yep.
And so it's important for us to think about that.
Oh yeah, I mean the gateway STEM is so darn important. I mean it's from so many ways, right? Whether you're getting students excited about the discipline, the degree moving forward as a recruitment tool for universities, right? So administrators listening out there, right? I mean, you want to attract kids and their families to your school, show that you have amazing gateway courses and amazing success from them to move on, right?
Yeah.
You don't have these 50% DFW rates, which are published in the literature, which is hard to stomach. Myself as a father of two kids, like I'm not going to send my kid to school, your school, if you got a really on below average gateway STEM course that he or may not get through or may or not be excited about. So yeah, where we often put teaching faculty there too, right? Like myself, well, we're there because we like it. We like teaching. And when I was at UC Irvine before here, I used to teach 440 students at a time in intro bio in one room. It's not 440 students though. It's 880 eyeballs judging me at every moment, but you get the point. You can have such an impact there. And how many of those kids, those students that I hopefully engage, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, don't get me wrong, but I like to think that I had a positive impact that propelled them through their major and then into their careers. So you can advertise that, right? Like, hey, if you can measure and show that we're doing great work in intro bio and we have a great success rate for our students and they go on to the next stage and they have a high satisfaction rate, publish that, put that on your website, show your recruitment, show admissions to tell families that like we're doing great stuff here, right? But I don't think people do that. People like to say, oh yeah, we do active learning, we do experiential learning, blah, blah, blah. There's no evidence to back it up. So let's provide that evidence, right? That's really, really critical, I think. And that's something I'm trying to do right now as a research study. And I think we're going to talk more about DBER and SoTL next. But I have a team of 4 undergrads. Shout out Ava, Hannah, Arden, and Arabella doing great work with me. We're doing a survey of every single R1 institution in the country's gateway STEM courses, biology, chemistry, physics, math, and programming. We got over 5,000 instructors identified. We're going to send out a survey this spring, and we're going to find out what's happening in these gateway STEM courses and try to figure out what's supporting student success and what's not. So, we'll see what happens with that data. I'm really excited for it. But things like that need to happen from time to time, again, to kind of characterize what's going on in Gateway STEM? How can we learn from that? How can you do it better? And even if you don't teach Gateway STEM, all the stuff we're talking about matters for every single course, right?
Yeah.
You as right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that it's a perfect transition. We definitely do want to talk a little bit about SoTL, or the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, or DBER, the discipline-based education research, and how it's important for educators at a higher education level to be thinking and actually intentionally testing academic and classroom strategies so that we can all improve. That we were just talking about the differences in the generations that are coming into our classrooms. No longer can we teach the way that we were taught. We've got Gen AI that is integrated. I just integrated it into the class that I teach because these things are happening in
Yep.
the world, and we as educators need to be working and partnering with our students
Yep.
and test what is actually happening in the classroom so that we can get better. So you are the Fry-Rear Chair at the School of Mines, and so you are promoting these discipline-based education research, or DBER practices. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this is one of many Fry-Rear chairs. I'm not the only one, just to be fair. There's many other great of my colleagues that have this title, and shout out to Ben Fry-Rear. I met Ben last year and his family, great guy. Thanks for supporting this initiative at Mines, Ben. But yeah, mine was all about trying to advance DBER at campus because the goal of these chairships are for faculty to kind of take on a new initiative to do some things. So here with my Fry-Rear chair at Mines, this is my last term on it. It's a 3-year term, and I've been trying to promote DBER specifically, discipline-based education research, right? So whether you want to use the DBER term or you want to use SoTL, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, same stuff, really. We're trying to advance teaching and learning. We care about our students. We want to do better. But DBER is kind of a more STEM term, right? Because it came out of STEM fields. And so we're disciplinary experts. We combine that with, again, the goal of advancing teaching and learning, but we're bringing in the social sciences stuff, which we might not be so good at. That's why collaboration is really important. But with what I'm doing here is I've been doing a series of workshops, which I call Getting Started with DBER. It's also in the book. The last chapter is all about getting started in DBER because I find when people are using evidence-based teaching practices and course design practices, they start seeing the literature about it. They get their own questions. They want to do it themselves. They want to become DBER scholars, but they don't know how to get started. Fair thing. I didn't know how to get started either, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, even longer when I started doing this. So you kind of pick it up as you go. And so I'm trying to help faculty and graduate students, postdocs, all levels, start to dip their toes in this world. How do you craft a research question? How do you craft a hypothesis? How do you design a study? How do you do the analysis? Biggest thing with all this, though, is identify your limits. What you can bring so much from your STEM training, right? I'm a chemical engineer, a bioengineer, biologist. I had certain skill sets that I can bring to this. If you're in ecology, if you're in mechanical engineering, if you're in physical chemistry, you have technical skill sets you can bring, but it might not be enough. So identify your limits. When do you need to partner up with a psychologist, with an education researcher, a real education researcher, right? When you need to partner up with a psychometrician, something like that. So figuring that out, and that will help you go forward. So in this workshop series, I've guided it's probably close to 80 people now over the last few semesters through this program. I'm able to support them in getting memberships to professional DBER organizations like ASEE or SABRE. And then I kind of bringing in speakers that are focusing on DBER work. I had Adrian Williams from UC Irvine, Brian Sato from UC Irvine. I have Kelsey Metzger coming in from Minnesota Rochester this semester. So we're trying to celebrate and promote this on campus the best we can.
Yeah, yeah, that's really awesome. And the thing is that certainly our experiences in the STEM fields. And so in the STEM fields, the research in the content areas is often what is prioritized.
Mhm.
And so it's important for, again, people like us to behave as champions and ambassadors to make sure that these sort of efforts are prioritized and they are part of the opportunities that instructors, professors at all levels have. And so here at Embry-Riddle, we are focusing a little bit more on the SoTL piece of it. Again,
Mhm.
same thing. We're talking about looking at instructional practices,
Mhm.
thinking about what is happening in the classrooms and how we can make it better. And one of the kind of key components of the scholarship of teaching and learning is telling people about it, because we can do all of these wonderful things in the classroom, but if we're only, again, impacting those folks that are in our classroom, we're
Mhm.
doing a disservice to everyone that could be using these wonderful
Yep. Yep.
strategies or methods.
Mhm.
So, what we have done recently through the support of our strategic initiative is we have a new, we call it the Innovative Teaching Grant, and it's an opportunity for full-time faculty members to get funding for travel related to SoTL work.
Nice.
And that has been really powerful because the entire project is in coordination and collaboration with our department. So you were talking about sometimes people just don't know where to get started. The really cool thing is that we get to partner with a faculty member to work on and develop a SoTL project, work through the data collection, talk about who might be the best audience for this.
Mhm.
And then someone from my team and the faculty member are going out to conferences together to spread the word and talk about
Awesome.
their successes and sometimes their failures. Again, we learn from failure just as much as we learned from our successes. And when you're out there, you are inspiring other people. They might not do exactly what you did,
Sure.
but hopefully they'll do something, they'll test it, and they'll come out and tell the academy about, again,
Yep.
their successes and failures, and this and the kind of cycle
Yep.
continues. So it's just so important for educators at all levels to be involved in these sort of things, but also to think about how we can involve others, how we
Mhm.
can kind of bridge that gap between subject matter expertise and teaching and learning, because in a classroom, those two things are coming together. And so it's important for us to really, again, I keep saying champions and ambassadors, but that's what we're hoping that anyway viewers of this web series will think about. Okay, well, yeah, I'd like to partner with my Center for Teaching and Learning, or maybe somebody at my
Yep.
institution is doing DBER,
Yep.
or there's opportunities for people to connect, to build that community around innovation, around creativity, around safety and risk taking. And
Mhm.
so it's again just important for us to think about what we can do to help faculty members close that gap and work through some of those things. Again, my dissertation research is around third space, but it really was focused on the cross-boundary
Mhm.
collaboration. So what is the value of
Right.
having these third space folks, these people who are in between, in the middle, working across traditional boundaries, because we get better when we talk to someone who's a little bit different than
Oh
us,
yeah. Oh yeah.
different expertise, different
Mhm.
different mindset, different experiences.
Yep. Yeah, totally. I mean, the not just talking to people, but also, excuse me, reading other literature too, you know. So,
Yep.
don't restrict yourself to biology education literature if you're a biologist. Look at the chemistry, look at the physics, look at the psychology, look at the humanities, look at the K-12. You're going to learn from all of it, right?
Yep.
And then again, working across disciplines too. And I love when I meet faculty that are fired up about this and want to do it. But the biggest problem almost all the time is, well, they have no time and there's no reward, right? So like, what's the point of it, it really? Does it count for promotion and tenure? Does it count for advancement? Does it count as scholarship? How do I have the time to do this when I have all these classes I'm teaching? Typically, it's teaching faculty that get into this world first, not exclusively, but typically, and they have high course loads. They probably don't have tenure. I did at UC Irvine. I had tenure for about 2 months, and then I left and came to Mines, and I don't have tenure in my teaching track here. So whatever, I don't need it. But it just depends on what is valued by your institution. So you have to make an argument. Start with your colleagues, start with your department head and your dean, and kind of just show, hey, this is valuable information. This is how we know these things work in the classroom. This is how we know to transform our gateway STEM courses so that we can improve student success and improve recruitment to this institution. It comes from research. So you should support this too. So the fact that you have that innovation grant, I noticed no ER on that grant name though.
No, we couldn't work it in. We couldn't work it in.
But right, you're going to be able to support your faculty there. We're trying to do a faculty fellow type program too with DBER here at Mines, and I've been part of those at other institutions. So yeah, we got to be able to value it and support it. So you got the fire inside, that's awesome, but you got to feel that value too. And then also too, though, if for faculty listening, you got an idea, just do it. I mean, don't wait, because you as a education research person, DBER person, you might only have one crack a year at this. If you're studying your own class, right? You might only teach this class once a year. So if you waited now, maybe you were thinking about doing it, the spring semester, but now it's, end of January, middle of February, like, oh, you lost that opportunity. You got to wait a whole year to plan again. So just give it a shot, see what happens. Maybe it's not perfect the first time. It probably won't be. You'll learn from that mistake, but yeah, just kind of overcome that kind of hurdle that you might have, some activation energy, and just go give it a shot. Like just one example that's related to this. I've been wanting to start my own podcast for a while. I've been so nervous to do it because I'm just so worried about reception and what people are going to think. And then just this week I said, screw it, let's do it. Because what am I going to do? I'm just going to keep waiting and not do it. So I started that. And that my goal with that is to talk to faculty and do a Q&A. I call it office hours to learn and answer questions about STEM education and pedagogy and DBER stuff. But like, you just got to do it. Life is so short. So why not? And I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of other fires to put out, but if you got an idea for a project, whether it's teaching related, research related, business related, family related, just go for it. And then if you screw up, who cares? You're going to learn from it.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the great thing about making some of these adjustments in your class. You can get immediate feedback from your students, make adjustments on the fly. It is relatively low risk. And so it's just a wonderful time to partner with students, allow them an opportunity to take ownership of their own educational experience. And then again, our students don't just need high quality teaching and learning experiences. They deserve it.
Yep.
And so it's important for us as educators, regardless of what our role is within our institution, is to remember that we all play a part in faculty and student success. And so finding partners, like you said, connecting with people, highlighting what other people are doing, even if they're not courageous enough or ready to share their story, just sharing your excitement around it and giving them a little bit of recognition. Again, it might not be something they get from their traditional lines of recognition. Mm-hmm. And so if we can partner, if we can build those networks, if we can just celebrate the successes that we're having in and outside of the classrooms, we can make education, higher education, online education, just better for the future.
Absolutely. Well said.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for future episodes. And learn more about DAI and the work we're doing, follow us on LinkedIn using the link in the description below.